The Skaven have long since been one of the best factions in Total War Warhammer. They have such a fun and albeit cheesy campaign, alongside lords with extremely fun and unique playstyles. However, what's good can be great, so SFO is here to simply overhaul them to be even more fun. Let's take a look and see if it succeeds. And if you want to succeed in watching these videos without ads, then become a channel member. Just $1 a month for all the same ads. Nope. Just $1 a month for all the same videos with 0 ads. Plus, you don't have to hear me say this every video. Now, onto the Skaven. First off, a number of the Skaven's racial mechanics have seen some changes. First of all, food. The penalties for low food have been simplified but are possibly more brutal than before. There's a huge growth debuff alongside replenishment and increased upkeep for Skaven slaves. The control penalty remains the same and the leadership is just a little kinder. Inversely, the rewards for high food have been expanded as well as buffed up. You now get more control alongside reduced upkeep for all units and some extra just for Skaven slaves, improved loyalty and both global and local recruitment to keep things moving. Overall, you have a lot more incentive to keep it high and more importantly, not let it get too low. I much prefer the simpler penalties and more complex rewards, as it makes lower levels a little less intimidating but no less punishing. If you want to burn all your food to instantly level up a settlement upon capture, you can do so knowing exactly what to expect until you get it under control. The effects of high Skaven corruption have also been modified. The siege attrition sees a further reduction alongside all non-Skaven armies taking more siege attrition and being more vulnerable to hero actions. It's not a major change, but it brings you a little bit more reward for spreading it to go with that massive control penalty. The regular tech tree still exists with a few changes here and there, but alongside it you have 2 entirely new trees. Tunnels works on its own resource called Rat Force. You earn this from technologies in the tree and can then spend it to open up new areas of the tree to access all kinds of powerful bonuses. There's buffs for everything from food to unit stats alongside areas unique to certain factions. It's not something you can really rush through as Rat Force is earned quite slowly, it's more so something you dip into every now and then to give yourself a boost when you can. The Undercity page is unsurprisingly all about the Undercities mechanic. There's all kinds of powerful projects, many of which are unlocked upon building specific Undercity buildings. Many of these come with bonuses to Undercities alongside other areas of your faction, making them a lot more worth building these days. They're one of those mechanics that can be forgotten about in favour of normal conquest, but with this, it's more tempting to set them up a little bit more. With 3 trees and 2 of them having their own conditions or resources, it feels like most of your time can be spent in the regular clans tree before switching back to the other 2 whenever you can. You won't always be able to unlock something in the other 2 trees, so we'll be moving around quite a lot. Add on to this the fact that the clan trees still require certain buildings to get going, and you have research that may have a lot of conditions to progress, but still never really makes you feel trapped. It more so helps you shape how you want to build up your entire faction with a new added factor, which I'm a pretty big fan of. Low control now also has a lot more penalties. Your settlements have heavily reduced income, no line of sight from settlements, increased upkeep and reduced control faction-wide, and even reduced speed for local armies. Whereas high levels you now gain increased income, line of sight, growth, speed, and even a little upkeep reduction. As usual in SFO, it makes it very challenging to achieve these high levels, and the Skaven are perhaps the hardest I've played so far. However, the rewards are well worth it, especially as you gain more provinces under your control. And lastly, unit caps. As usual, unit capacities are added and not just to the higher tier units. Skaven slaves now work on a capacity system but cost nothing to recruit. This makes them a finite but easily replaced resource you can spam in armies when you need to make up some numbers. You can increase your capacity by capturing more settlements, and outside of Skaven slaves, regular later tier units have capacities based on recruitment buildings, so placing them a lot more regularly is the way to go to ensure you can fill your army in the later game. There's also a number of changes specific to the factions. Clan Mors has a new mechanic called Queek's Ore. This is a new currency that is earned by beating legendary lords in battle and picking up Queek's trophy skills. It can then be spent in the Trophies of Clan Mors menu. From here, you can unlock a number of permanent and temporary buffs for Queek, warlords, clan rats, and the faction as a whole. The buffs here can make clan rats into a pretty formidable force for something so cheap. They'll never rival endgame units like Storm Vermin, but they'll remain extremely cheap, so allow you to create your very own Vermintide, and a damn effective one at that. Mechanic aside, nearly all of his faction effects have been changed. He still has his buffs for the Menace below, but now faces a huge loyalty penalty until he captures 8 peaks, giving you even more motivation to get it done. Clan Pestilence now has a new playcrafting mechanic. Not technically new since it's the same system used by Nurgle, but it's new to him, dammit. It works just the same, which means you need to gather infections from battles, events, and buildings. You can then spend those to craft plagues, using the good old node system, modifications, and even the option of plague cultists, as well as any owned settlement or army. The plague cultists have even had a rat makeover, so that's just lovely. His pestilent scheme right is also buffed up, alongside him being best pals with any Nurgle faction he meets. His army spreads even more corruption, and drops a little upkeep reduction in exchange for improved replenishment. Clan Rictus has the new Rictus Bravery mechanic. This is a meter that goes up and down over the course of the game. It's affected by winning battles and certain events. These events are fairly regular, albeit with certain conditions, and they offer you the choice of more or less bravery or temporary buffs for the faction. At low levels of bravery, your faction gains extra XP for characters in own territory, improved control and reduced recruitment cost. At high levels, you gain increased campaign movement if an enemy retreats, armor, and XP for all units. There's no downside, so it's really just different buffs depending on how you're doing. He also gets a massive relations plummet with Clan Moors, alongside dropping the Encourage for Storm Vermin. His army now gains some speed alongside the attack buffs. The other three lords also see some changes, but they are more minor. Clan Scryer drops a little bit of construction cost reduction to gain a little research rate. Ickit's army drops upkeep reduction for improved reload speed per rank for all units in his army, which is pretty good. Clan Eshin has a reduced penalty for non-Eshin units, and Eshin units are even cheaper. Snitch's army boosts attack for heroes even more, and he's now immune to trespassing penalties. And for Clan Mulder, they stay just the same because he's a perfect little baby. As for the roster, as usual, every single unit in the roster is seeing some kind of change, but in the interest of time, we'll only go over the stuff that's brand new. Rick Crook Sliceblade is a new lord, and he's pretty similar to Queek, but just a little bit weaker. Or should I say, Queeker. He drops quite a lot of attack along with some weapon strength, but does gain a little bit of defense. On top of this, he also has magical and warpstone scorch attacks to weaken whatever he's battling. He's a very powerful melee lord with great damage and a decent survivability. Whatever he fights, he'll probably do a great job as long as he can get into melee, so just get him involved. And if you need a little bit of extra damage, he can use a breath ability for a little bit of area damage. Scar Bloodtail, again quite similar to Queek, which makes sense since they are such good pals. Less armor and attack, but a little more health and defense, spells a hero that is extremely tanky, but doesn't quite have the damage output of Queek himself. That said, the damage is still very respectable with tons of armor piercing, a bonus versus large, and now some cavalry bane. Get this guy on the front lines against anything large and he will bring in tons of value. His abilities buff himself and allies, so he's perfect being in the middle of melee no matter what. We also have a number of new melee infantry. The Maces, Moors, Clan Rats are pretty similar to regular Clan Rats, but with a little more attack, leadership, and of course a bunch more armor-piercing weapon strength. It's nothing crazy later in the game, but early on and even in the mid-game, it can make a real difference and make Clan Rat units a lot more viable. They're still very weak everywhere but damage, so be ready for the usual playstyle of running them in and out as their leadership waxes and wanes. However, once you get some of those trophies of Clan Moors under your belt, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. The Shields Moors Clan Rats drop some attack and charge from the regular Maces, but gain a shield and some defense. If you want other units to deal most of the damage and really keep these guys relevant later into the game, shields are probably the play. They keep decent damage but now a little harder to take down in melee and from a range. They're still not Storm Vermin, at least not without a lot of buffs, but another strong Clan Rat to make them a lot more viable. The Red Guard Storm Vermin are Queek's elite sword and shield Storm Vermin, so about what we'd expect from that description. They have stat boost, leadership, speed, and attack, but a little less defense. They also gain a not insignificant amount of charge bonus, but I'd probably stick to the front lines rather than cycle charging them around. They'll deal more damage but take a little more than regular units, so just be a little more aggressive. They also boost the attack and damage of the closest lord or hero, so they work well as Queek's personal guard to boost him whilst doing some decent battling of their own. We have the Halberds Rictus Storm Vermin, and naturally these are the Storm Vermin exclusive to Clan Rictus. They have a larger unit size, more leadership and attack, resulting in a iteratively better unit than something revolutionary. They also get an extra boost to damage output when they're at high HP, so really make sure to get them into combat as soon as you can to maximize their value. They can be used just the same as Halberd Storm Vermin, so as a tanky front line that can do a ton of damage. These Swords and Shields Rictus Storm Vermin, once again some slight boost to unit size, leadership and attack with that boost when at high HP. Nothing much more to say other than they're a bit better, but nothing crazy. And lastly, the Black 13. As the name suggests, these are a very small unit of elite death runners. They may have limited entities, but they pack a serious punch to make up for it. They come with stat improvements to almost everything, including a ton of attack and damage. The weapon strength is decent versus armor, albeit not majorly armor piercing, so squishy backlines will be your best bet. Plus, their weeping blades will cut enemy armor in half, so who really needs armor piercing? They're still basically undetectable until they're on top of enemies, they still have concealment bombs to disappear from sight, and now have smoke bombs to slow and weaken enemies to make them easier prey. And lastly, they weaken enemies losing in melee combat, so bring their inevitable doom even quicker. Now for a mod review. The Skaven are another of those races that I kinda see as perfect. It's not that it's 10 out of 10 campaigns across the board or anything, I just don't really see where they could go to be improved. But of course the SFO team are also well aware of this, so they haven't really messed with the formula, but just added more goodies. The 3 legendary lords who lacked any real mechanics have been given something unique to play with, and it makes them a lot more in line with the other 3. The mechanics here are pretty simple, but they're still your basic choices, so sometimes it's nice to want a more chill vanilla campaign, rather than some complex mechanic that needs constant attention, a la Throt. The racial mechanics have all remained much the same with small tweaks here and there to smooth them out a little. The small changes to the effects of food are a great change and make it something I'm a lot more willing to get down to those lower levels, as I know what areas of the game will be punished. The tech tree changes are also excellent. You keep the standard Skaven tree, which, scroll bar aside, is probably one of the best in the base game, add a few improvements to it, and then get 2 entirely new trees with their own mechanics. The tunnels tree being its own little mechanic is great fun and gives research a lot more weight when deciding what to unlock next. And the tree dedicated to Undercities is a super cool idea and makes them a lot more valuable, as they can kind of fade into the background a lot of the time. Overall, the mod makes some great changes, especially for the first 3 lords. The last 3 see benefits from the tech tree and other racial changes, but Queek, Skrulk, and Tretch are almost whole new campaigns. The mechanics may be simple, but they are brand new and change how you play each of them. SFO is well worth trying for the Skaven, as it takes one of the most fun races to play and makes them even better. But what I want to know is, which of the new mechanics do you think looks the most fun? Do you want to rule the world with a vermin tide of clan rats, or spread plagues to your benefit? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you did, subscribe to see more, and if you want another mod related video, then check out this podcast all about the very best mods to play whilst we wait for the DLC. Whenever that may be. God, please soon.